Therefore it is called the
sandpaper bush.
Yeah, well done. And it's growing under the shade of a marula tree, as is a big guarri bush. It's got very rough leaves. And I must say, one of the great joys of living out here is the ability to touch and taste and smell things out here. And that is the sandpaper bush. Not an iconic tree of Africa by any stretch of the imagination, but it is just quite interesting. And I've tasted some. Pretty tasteless actually, not too bad. And just remember that you are not allowed to go into the wilderness, especially if you're a youngster, and just taste things willy-nilly like I'm doing out here. It can result in poisoning, which you really don't want. And so unless you're with a very experienced guide, don't just go into the wild and start eating things. Let's head across to Brent and see what he's got. I'm going to turn towards the west and see what we can find that way. Sorry, I believe that Brent's signal is giving him a bit of issues. So you're going to stay with us. Aye, minha qui. Tingala. Okay. How tive qui? Oh, ndakubzela. Tilega. Wayitiva ndlela le. Ifamba ematini. La le mati tsongo. Wayitiva. Famba ndleleni le utatikuma la enkoveni. Okay. All right. Sorry, back to Brent. He's now got a bit of signal, and we will see you later.
As you can see, we're looking at some little berries. These particular little berries are a great favorite of mine, and those who've been watching for a while will remember a while ago I showed flower. Now this has come after the flower. It's called a bird's brandy. It is the only indigenous lantana species to Africa, and it is one of my favorites. And you can see I've picked a whole bunch of these purple little and to eat them. I actually had to stop while we were waiting to come across because I nearly finished all the berries on the bush. But they are very, very almost just pure, almost sugar, but a bit nicer tasting than having a spoonful of sugar. But we have been discussing now that there are some really wonderful little edible fruits that are coming around at the moment. The trick is to get there before the monkeys and the birds. But this particular one was used by quite a lot of the early settlers to make very nice jam, and I just like to use them as snacks while I'm walking around the bush. But we are still on the track of Karula. She was last seen heading into this direction. We're going to go check now, continue checking all the big game parts, and we are now very close to where the last place was, and we're still listening really carefully to everything around us. And unfortunately all we can hear so far is the normal sort of chorus, birds, Cape turtle doves, crested francolin, and I'm down to my last two berries. So on that note, let's move on. Ahead is other really, really nice trees to eat, but the fruits aren't there. It's the Nkahuma tree, or a bird plum or brown ivory, which is what the Nkahuma Pride of Lions were named after the first time they were found, sleeping under one of these trees. And the fruits are sort of about that bit bigger, also really, really tasty. And there's a potent liqueur made out of them in Zambia. But also can make jam, other preserves from them, and definitely one of my favorite trees that occurs here at Djuma. See all the new leaves sprouting, no fruit just yet. And there's actually a big one and a small one. And here we've got a very big one. Oh, it's actually the same tree. If you look down a bit closer, it's just got a second stem coming off here, and you can see how different is a young sort of main stem as opposed to a very old main stem. Very white, quite smooth, whereas the old stem's really rough and quite dark. Oh, I'm just going to help Brian, he's going to get, so I'm going to have to go back there. And I was really hoping we were going to find some tracks in this area, but no luck so far. This beautiful late afternoon light comes through, and you can see something we don't see. Djuma.
We've just stopped here for a brief respite. Sorry about the signal again on the bushwalk pack, it does seem to be slightly variable. We're looking at the sun going down through the woodland just to the right of me. We'll carry on now. Andrew, stop coughing. And I'm hoping that we might pick up on an elephant before we go back towards those lions. On we go. I must confess that I did eat a piece of that sandpaper bush, and it tasted a little bit like pencil shavings. You can imagine that eating pencil shavings, well, that's what it tastes like. I wouldn't recommend eating either pencil shavings or sandpaper bush. Strong smell of buffalo around here. This is around where Brent was watching them being hunted by those lions last night. And this is good territory for buffalo to be hunted by lions because it's thick bush, difficult for them to see where the threat's coming from, difficult for them to know what's going on. And as Steph told us a nice story last night about watching lions catching buffalo. What they'll do sometimes is rush up to the buffalo, get a calf, bite it severely, and then disappear. And eventually that calf will die of the injuries, not too soon, a couple of hours maybe after it's been bitten. And Steph told us a story of watching exactly that happen. A female jumped on a young calf, bit it in the head, and it kind of wandered and then left. And they kind of wandered around, and an hour later it dropped dead, and the lions came in and ate it. And I think that's with buffalo is a large part of the strategy. And we had a question a little earlier about whether that young calf we saw this morning without the herd had been found again, if we had any updates. Now, for those of you who weren't watching this morning, and of course you should have been, but I'll forgive you if it was 3 o'clock in the morning, we saw a big herd of buffalo, and way at the back of the herd was this bellowing little calf in very bad condition. It's had its tail ripped off by something, maybe hyenas, maybe lions. It was skinny, emaciated, looked sick, possibly had TB, and it was just a very sad and really heart-wrenching thing to see. And I don't know what happened to it. We left it alone, we didn't want to interfere. There haven't been any updates as to what's happened to it, I'm afraid. It's not easy to just let things like that go and not try and interfere, not try and chase the calf back towards the buffalo, but normally any interference on our part results in even more tragedy than it would be otherwise. So we just try and let things play out as they would in our absence. It's a very delicate balance, you know. For many people, wilderness, the meaning of wilderness is a natural area without people. Andrew, do you want me to stop for your artistic shot? It's a very, very, very nice drive-by sunset shot there. Well done. For many people, the wilderness is is absent of people. And so the question about the buffalo, which I've just kind of explained in quite a lot of detail, came from Miss Gin and Penny Pine. Thank you for that. About the buffalo calf that is not, we don't know what's happened to it, I'm afraid. So as I was saying, the reason that we don't interfere, of course, is that we're supposed to be in a wilderness area, and for many people, wilderness is natural areas in the absence of human beings. For me, I'm not comfortable with that. I feel that we have been so much a part of wild areas for so long that to exclude human beings from the equation is just incorrect. And we've had a huge effect on them. And the wilderness likewise has had a huge effect on us. And so I find our integration into nature far more an expression of wilderness than trying to exclude us completely from it. Now, we were looking at lions earlier, and we are hopefully going to see them again a little bit later. And I believe Barbara asked a question of Brent, and I think Ben also reiterated it, as to could he remember when he first saw a lion, and what did it make him feel like? And Barbara and Ben, I'm going to tell you two stories. The first one is to say I can remember when I first saw a lion. I was 6 years old in the Kruger National Park with my family and some family friends, and I had a case of gastroenteritis, and if you don't know what that means, it means a really bad stomach that I can't remember ever having a worse one actually. And so I saw a lion. I remember seeing it and walking through the bush and being deeply unimpressed because I felt so supremely ill that it didn't make an impression on me. The next one I saw that I remember seeing, I probably saw one or two in childhood. The next one I saw, I remember seeing was during my training. And I came out of university and I had spent very little time in properly wild areas. And I went off to northern Natal, a place called Pinda, where I did my training. And I remember the very first male lion that I saw there. And he came bucketing out from behind the bush, convoy with another vehicle, so there's another vehicle in front of us, and this lion came out of the bush and ran at the vehicle. And I thought, this is astonishing, he's going to kill someone. And what he was doing was, he was a young lion who'd been brought into the area. It wasn't a wild area as wild as this. And much like a dog, he liked to chase the car tires, which of course is a bit terrifying when it's a 250 kilogram cat that's doing that. And so the next time I saw, he eventually went off. The next time I saw a lion was, like we've been viewing them now, very close by. And when one of them lifted his head and looked at us, I felt an utterly blood-chilling sense of fear from that lion. And it's obviously improved much since then. But I feel that it was a really valuable experience to have. To see a lion like that and feel, oh, because it really does. That kind of feeling connects you with the wild. And so I really do appreciate the fact that I felt that kind of fear. And that was about, when was that? That was probably 15 years ago. And more than 15 years ago. It's distressing as well. Thank you, Barbara and Ben, for that. So listening to the radio at the moment, trying to make sure that we have a space at those lions a little bit later on. Absolutely exquisite afternoon. This let's just stop and have a listen, see what we can hear. The cicadas are out in force. There, you can hear them now. Let me just turn you around, Andrew. Just almost.
That would be very nice.
To there. I'm just going to go up onto the ridge crest here, everyone, and I'm going to turn around so that you can look at the sun going down over the mountains. It's just so pretty. I'm actually going to make a mess of this. I'm going to turn you around. So we talk quite a lot in these areas about traditional healing and eating or trying out traditional medicines, and we stop at a tree and we say, well, you know, this tree is used for traditional medicines. And there are of course huge numbers of practicing traditional healers in the area, and they generally come in two guises. One would be in Zulu, I don't know the Shangaan terms for them. In Zulu you have an Inyanga, which is a herbalist, a healer, and you also have an Umtagati. You can imagine what an Umtagati does. An Umtagati is what you might term a witch doctor, somebody who practices the dark arts, casting spells and curses on people. Now, James in Kansas, you want to know if I've ever used the surfaces of one of these traditional healers. I haven't. I have spent some time with a traditional healer. He was a teacher of Sangomas, and one of his students did some fortune telling for me. She actually got it pretty accurate, I think. She said that there were 3 ladies I was in love with, or no, that I was interested in, one of whom lived overseas, and 2 of whom were close by. There's some elephants. That's marvelous news. Some elephants. We're just going to go a little bit up here. I'm going to show you the sun, and we're going to drive into the sun and into the elephants with any luck. Or not into them, you know what I mean. So James, yep, he did tell me a little bit about my future, but that was more just as an example. I don't generally seek out the help of the traditional healers too much. So there you've got an idea of a beautiful sun and the mountains, and we'll just see if you can't hear those elephants before we drive a little bit closer to them. It is just fantastic. And you'll notice how in the summertime, Andrew, be quiet, I'm trying to create an atmosphere. You'll notice, you know, you sometimes can't choose the people you work with. In the summertime, because there's no smoke and smog in the sky, you'll notice the sunsets are a lot yellower. They're not that bright red orange color. I think it's really subtle and beautiful. I can just hear the elephants browsing off to the right of us. Let's go and have a look at them. Very nice, Andrew. You'll forgive me. Don't do it again. While we see if we can get into a position where we can look at the elephants, let's head across to Brent. There's no better way to enjoy a sunset than on foot. I'll see you now, hopefully with some enormous pachyderms to show you.
So it's such a spectacular evening. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to find any more tracks of Karula in the block, and it is getting to that time of the evening where it goes from being a wonderful walking experience to a very scary one. So we're slowly making our way back towards where we parked the car, but we just wanted you to join us. I mean, just look at this light, and being on foot in nature is just something so special. As amazing as it is to watch animals from the vehicle, being on foot is just this completely different experience. You really connect to the earth. And while we're making our way back towards the vehicle, Ben, who's 14 years old, hi Ben, he says, when was the first time I can remember seeing a lion? And how did it make me feel? Well, Ben, that's quite a difficult question for me. I can't really remember exactly when I saw a lion for the first time. But probably one of the most distinct memories. Sorry, 1 second, guys. Okay. We're going to keep walking. It sounds like there's some buffalo or elephant that side. And as I said, it's getting a bit late and the sun's dipping, so we're just going to move a little bit further away and down into this open area here. So Ben, sorry, back to your question. And one of the most memorable occasions is that we were on the reserve that myself and my family lived in Zululand, which is near the Mozambique border of South Africa, but down on the coast. And we were sitting in the back of a pickup, but a closed pickup, and there was a friend of my grand.
Hello again. We had a marvelous sighting of the elephants. They went into some thick bush and I didn't want to crash in after them, so we're just going to nip around to the side here and see if we can't get a view of them coming out of the bush. We're now on the very far southwestern corner of Djuma, where the sun is setting in a marvelous array of ginger and honey coloured rays. In here, there they are. They're just coming out there. This is beautiful. It's just a little herd. 2 little babies. And this, I suspect, young bull. Just checking us out. Hi. Sorry, let me just quickly turn. Ooh, bigger one in front of us there. Sorry, little chaps. Wendy made a grinding noise that gave them all a bit of a fright, I'm afraid. Stop here. Oh, let me go forward. There we go. Another one coming across, very widely splayed tusks has that little one. Well, let's quickly nip across to Brent. He's got something interesting to show you. I'll stay with the elephants and see you just now.
So, sorry, we just disappeared there for a second, but just over my shoulder we found a friend on our way back to the vehicle. Nice big male giraffe. And he's watching us, making sure we're not posing any threats to him. You can see, very still. And off he goes on his evening business. So we're not going to try follow him, we're going to let him go. We've got to keep moving back to the car, and we will go straight back to James now, and we'll catch up with you a little later.
Hi. Just moving towards a bull here. I said that there were no bulls with the herd. I obviously lied by mistake. Here looks to be a relatively mature bull. He's not a very big one. Please don't be a cow and embarrass me. No, it is a bull. Just sneak up here. Stop. They're going next door, I'm afraid, so we can't follow them. There's some more just up ahead. That's a bull probably about 20 years old, so he's on his own in life. He's not allowed to be with the herd anymore because he's a bit old. He's been thrown out of the nest, as it were, and he might spend time on the fringes of a herd, but mostly he'll probably spend time with other bulls his own age, or with the much older bulls who will show him the ways of being an adult bull elephant. Oh, isn't he lovely? Wonderful sound. That, of course, is a quintessential shot of Africa, the back end of a bull. And a little bird waiting patiently that you can see there, a fork-tailed drongo, just waiting to see if the elephant doesn't dislodge some kind. It's not a fork-tailed drongo, it's a piece of burnt stick. Please ignore what I've said. Let's move forward. Thank you, Andrew. Did you know it was a piece of stick?
I had my suspicions that it
You did you? And you thought you'd just zoom in anyway, did you? Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. The next Ziziphus bush we come past is going to have most of you left on it. More elephants in here, but again, like I say, they are next door, so we can't go driving in there after them. Beautiful. Enjoying the fresh leaves. Normally, in fact, they've been eating this variable bush willow tree, and that seems to be, oh, she might be eating a red bush willow, but we had a taste test the other day of two of the greenest bush willow trees out here, one the variable and one the red bush willow, and it was definitely tastier. The variable was much less tannin rich, and the elephants certainly seem to be preferring that at the moment over the red bush willow tree. Now, the elephant's trunk is the most important part of its anatomy in terms of feeding and drinking and communicating and smelling, of course. An extended nose, quite astonishing evolutionary adaptation, and there is an elephant around here that has a shorter trunk, and you can hear her coming because she breathes with like a sort of blocked nose almost, and she's missing the end of her trunk. It doesn't have that very prehensile tip that allows her to pick things up. Otherwise she seems entirely fine. And Sue and Shelby in North Carolina, you watched a documentary yesterday that on Nat Geo channel that showed a female elephant being bitten by a crocodile as she was drinking. And you want to know if that's possibly how our short-tailed or short-trunked elephant lost her trunk. Sue and Shelby, it's quite possible. That's actually a really good thought as to what happened. Perhaps as a calf drinking in a waterhole, perhaps a little bit too deep, perhaps at the water in the Sand River where there's a lot more place for crocodiles to hide than in some of the dams that are around here. And perhaps a crocodile then grabbed the trunk and bit a piece of it off. That's certainly well possible. But it does amaze me the way animals are able to adapt out here and cope with what must be utterly horrendous pain. and slowly heal. It really is astonishing. We've had some lovely contributions from our younger viewers today, the two budding herpetologists, one in Missouri and the other in the Netherlands, neither of which I think are reptile hotspots of the world, but hopefully you'll get to spend some time with reptiles. Sarah, was it 14-year-old Ben, and now from little Gracie, aged 8, in Ohio. Gracie, you say you want to touch an elephant's earlobe one day. Gracie, it's very important with wild animals that we don't get too close to them, because it normally makes them scared of us. And some places do capture wild animals and keep them in sort of captivity, and they do allow people to touch them. But sometimes those places aren't really the best places for elephants. But you might be able to touch an elephant's earlobe in, say, a rehabilitation center. Maybe there's a young elephant that's being raised. Maybe it was an orphan, and some places do have very important roles to play like that, so they'll keep elephants in areas where you can interact with them and touch them, but that's normally only in medical facilities, so like a small animal hospital. So maybe you'll be able to do it. I know of a very good one in Zambia where they try and release the elephants back into the wild, so maybe you can touch an elephant's earlobe, but you must be very careful about where you do that, because there are places around that well, sometimes not so nice for the animals to live in them. So you need to be very careful about that. And certainly, Gracie, you must never try and touch the lobe of a wild elephant. They wouldn't like that at all. Right, I think what we're going to do is turn around and head back towards the lions and see if they aren't, they don't deign to perhaps lift their heads or so. Right, here we go. I'm just going to call myself into that sighting. I'd like to make my way there, Andrew. Are you? Okay, they are at the junction. You know that shortcut road that goes from Gallagher shortcut to Bubu Road, past the water hole? Right in the drainage line there. Right, there's no one there now, so let's get in there. It's the same from Gallagher shortcut to Bubu Road. It's the same distance, so whatever's easier for you. Right, let us go and see what they're doing. The sun has gone down, the temperature is dropping slowly. I don't think it's going to be cold tonight by any stretch, but certainly the coolth and the lack of light will hopefully inspire those lions to do something exciting. While we're driving at high speed, Leo Smith the Bold is with, I think, an elephant on foot, which is very exciting. We'll see you just now.
Go on. Up. Okay. Sorry guys, that Ellie's just moved off. We're very close to the car, so just join us as we make it to the car. We might get a glimpse of him moving away. Beautiful. And our tracking vehicle. But it's been really great having you guys with us on this walking safari. Unfortunately, we didn't find any more Rula. She decides to a little bit. Really, really nice.
Back with us. We're on the way to the lions. I'm not sure what happened with Brent. It really is slightly irksome that the lack of signal on that little pack. I might take to it with a hammer a little bit later today and see if that doesn't solve the problem out. Definitely a marked change in temperature. Andrew, are you putting a jersey on? Andrew says he's throwing on a jersey one time. That's not in fact any discernible language that I know. I think what it means is he's going to put his jacket on. Don't want to get to the lions after they've started to move, of course. Of course, every day we drive along here, I find that I learn from our audience, and of course while we're driving along and looking at the animals and spending extended periods with animals, I mean, we see elephants just about every day, and as Elaine in Michigan has just pointed out, she said the spine of an elephant really sticks out. She can't think of another animal that has that, where there's such a prominent ridge down the back. Elaine, I haven't thought of it like that. I've often noticed the spine, but I've never kind of thought no other animal has that. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, kudu sometimes in the shoulders, they do have a very obvious ridge sort of around the shoulders here, but not all the way down to the back. It's absolutely correct. I don't know why that is. Sometimes rhino, actually, you know that. Big rhino bulls, white rhino bulls have a similar kind of ridge down the back. But otherwise, you're absolutely right. I don't know why that is. I can't think of a reason offhand. Right, we're not too far from those lions, probably about 5 or 7 minutes. That little piece of infrastructure that you can see is a pump that sends water to Djuma camp, and of course to one of our little staff houses where Brent and Jamie and Scott and Nikki and Eugenius live. Every time I drive up this road, tree there, you just start to see coming into the picture now on the left hand side. I always think it's a herd of buffalo going across the road, certainly a buffalo, and it's always just a fallen marula tree. It never changes. Well, there's some primates up ahead who seem to be watering themselves, possibly having a feed as well. Okay, we're going to nip quickly across to Brent. I think he's got a really lovely sighting, so we're going to try once more with Brent, and I'll keep going to the lions. Good luck. You are, and back you are. We haven't got substantially further from when you last saw us, of course. But just before we continue to the lions, I just want to show you that the zebra that we looked at earlier have come onto quarantine clearings. There they are. So the impala, and there's a little herd of wildebeest the other side that are probably going to make their way onto the clearings as well. I hope for their sake that the lions choose buffalo over these clearings full of a smorgasbord of different antelope and equid species to eat. The lions are not far from here. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, we're going to try once more with Brent, and then, well, maybe I'll be with the lions, I don't know. Good luck.
So we're going to make this very quick. Thanks very much for joining us. Unfortunately, we are having signal difficulties, but I really want to share this incredibly special moment with you guys. And there's a nice big ellie bull, completely relaxed, drinking opposite us. And we've got hippos in the water hole. And it is just one of these moments that makes life so special. It's incredibly peaceful. And he's completely aware that we're here. I mean, I'm sitting right out in the open opposite him, and Brian's standing behind me, and as you can see, he's completely unperturbed with our presence. And that is the great thing about ellie bulls. They know they're safe. And also they feel safe because there's water between us. So we're not putting any sort of threat on him, and he's not putting any threats on us. Now, this is definitely the best way for me to end a walking safari, sitting quietly in the twilight with one of the most magnificent animals in the world. Another incredibly tough day in the office. I think we're just going to sit silently here for a little bit before I say my final goodbye, and just really enjoy this spectacular scene in front of us. And looks like he's had his drink. So thanks very much for coming with us, even though we did have a few little glitches today. Hopefully we can get them sorted out as soon as possible. And a couple of safaris ago I got asked to describe Africa in one word, and I described it as home. And I can even go further than that. Being in a place like this every day at a time like this, how could anyone not love it? But good night, and we'll see you on the sunrise safari.
Back towards Gallagher Camp. Hi everyone, just stand by one. I will address you shortly. The lions have moved. Apparently they're popping up here. They are moving up here. This is wonderful news. Bobby, thank you. I'm at the waterfall now. Right, here come the lions. Confirm they're on the road there. I'm going to stand by here. Apparently they're coming through. Here they are, right in front of us. Marvellous. Yeah, Andrew, we got them here. They're just in front of us here. Look at that, isn't that lovely? Andrew, will you just tell me if you want the lights on them? Oh, sorry, that's my bonds. Are you happy with this light?
That would be good.
Alright. Open this out a bit. Diffuse the light slightly. And there they go. Lions on the hunt. Marvellous. They are smelling and hearing things that you and I could only dream to smell and hear. They have got such sharp senses. I hear. So they're going into a pretty thick area, I have to say, and whether we'll be able to follow them or not I don't know, but we'll probably pick them up on the other side. And you can see there, that's Gallagher Camp just behind, and they're walking straight past the camp. We had a question earlier about whether there's a dominant lioness that leads the hunt or leads the pride. There isn't. The oldest lioness in this pride is the tailless lioness, who's just coming up behind there. There she is. But you can see one of the others has taken the lead and is pulling them on through the thicket. He thinks he's a bit thirsty, can have a drink. Well, one of them's turned around and gone the other way completely. That's fascinating. I wonder if she hasn't seen something. So two young males having a drink, thinking only of their stomachs or their immediate needs. The lionesses are clearly thinking of the hunt. Two of them gone off into the thickets there, and one of them has turned round and gone completely the opposite direction. Where she's gone, I couldn't tell you. Let me move, get a bit closer for you. Stick with these chaps as long as we can. Into the darkness. Isn't that lovely? Makes them look so genteel in the way they drink. Quite unlike most of their other behaviours. While we wait and see what these lions are going to do, they're heading off into the darkness, and of course one doesn't want to be face to face with a lion in the darkness. We wouldn't track them at night on foot at all. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head around. Andrew, I'm just going to go around there. I'll keep you posted. The thicket's not very long. Okay. While we're driving round, hang on a second, there's a hyena. You'll be following the lions, just to see if they don't kill something. I'm going to leave the hyena, everyone. I don't want to lose the lions coming through the bush on the other side. Monique, I was just telling a story earlier about when the first time I saw a lion on foot, and there was some question from Ben, aged 14, and how it made me feel. You want to know if I think the lion can sense fear. I don't think they can sense fear. Maybe they can. They can certainly read body language though. So I have absolutely no doubt that exactly like with a dog that is growling at you, if you show it fear, especially when you're on foot as opposed to in a vehicle, I have no doubt that they can figure that out pretty quickly. But I think it's more body language than it is sort of an energetic sense, but it may be a bit of both. Now, Andrew, do tell me if you spot the lion. So they're coming through what is a horrendously thick block here. There's a bush baby. There it is. You see it? And there, it's hiding. Let's leave the bush baby. Try and see if we can't spot the lions. Sorry, I didn't even tell you what a bush baby was. A bush baby is a little primate, the smallest primate that we get out here. It looks like a little koala bear, or a lemur. Galago is their proper name. Cameron, aged 5. It's a little primate, like a little monkey almost. That's what a primate is. Very difficult to see. I mean, we see their eyes flashing at night, but unless you're right behind the spotlight, which of course none of you are, you won't see them very easily. This road is always longer than I think it is. Now the lions should pop out here, either going up the road or towards quarantine clearings. Where will be trouble. Just coming through in this direction. Can't see their tracks on the road. Just look down there. And see, is that a lion? Or is it a piece of grass? A piece of grass. Right, let's carry on. I think maybe they've crossed over there, headed towards quarantine clearings. It's just impossible to get through that particular area. And while sometimes we do sound, there's some eyes, while sometimes we do sound a little frustrated by the inability to find animals, Barbara, as you say in Potchefstroom, there is a bushbuck, no kudu, not a kudu, Nyala. Jeez, I'm really on fire today. Nyalas, don't go that way, it's not a good idea. So, as I've said, we do get a little frustrated sometimes, but we do possibly have the best job in the world. And Barbara, you say that you'd quite like to come and volunteer for us, perhaps just to hold the flashlight. That would be very good, thank you. I'm just not sure where you'd sit in the Land Rover. But yes, we do have the best job in the world. We love doing it, and we're so very glad that you enjoy watching it. Now, where are these lions? I'm just going to get hold of Andrew quickly, tell him that I haven't spotted them coming out here. Andrew, come in. Andrew, I haven't got them coming out of this thicket. Have you spotted them at all? Okay, copy that. I'll keep it there. I don't think they would have come this far yet, you know. They might have. We're very close to where we live, by the way. around the same area. Now it's difficult to know if they were coming this way or they're going to turn around and go towards the buffalo. The buffalo are straight up towards Sydney's dam, or they certainly were, which is just north of us. And these lions may well head to quarantine clearings. It would be a good place for a lion to hunt. You know, not very good on a night like this. There's a bit of light from a crescent moon, and the clearing, of course, makes it much easier for the lions to be seen by potential prey. This is most frustrating. This block is so thick, I've lost so many animals going into it because you just cannot follow them in. So please bear with me. Their tracks well. Can't see any tracks on the road. There. No, those are the Tsalala that we saw earlier, Andrew.
What?
The Tsalala. Tsalala's, you don't want to be here right now. Any lion tracks here? I may well just be circling the block in search of those Tsalala. It's certainly where they were headed. Oh, how deeply frustrating. No tracks on the road. Just a zebra. Don't make a mistake with zebra, Andrew. They're the stripy ones that look like horses. Andrew, bright plans? Patience. Patience. Okay, good point. Thank you. Here comes Andrew the ranger as opposed to Andrew the cameraman. He hasn't spotted me either. Getting into this block is going to be very difficult indeed. So we'll be very careful and see if we can't see their tracks coming out somewhere. We haven't seen them yet. There are the Tsalala. Question. Driving along here. There we go, right there. Lion coming. Andrew, they're just here to the left-hand side. Right, we'll wait for them to come straight towards us. We saw that hyena. Now the hyena has an extremely powerful bite, as we all know. And Tony, you want to know what's the most powerful out here? Basically, is it lion or leopard or hyena? Hyena proportionately by far the strongest. then probably the lions, then the leopards, and then the cheetah. So what we don't want to do is give away their position to potential prey. Likewise, we don't want to blind the prey. So I don't know if you can see that. You can't see their eyes shining there, can you, Andrew?
No.
And you can't see the lions at all.
No.
Okay, so the lions are in there. There, you can see the movement there. There we go. Here they come. Silent. Listening, smelling, all the time. I'll just every so often shine the light directly on them. They're going away from quarantine clearings at the moment, but straight towards where those nyala leapt across the road. I wish you could get behind there. I'm just going to put the spotlight closer to the camera and see if you can't see the eyes that I saw coming through the bush. It's just amazing to see.
Here we go.
Did you see the eyes?
Yeah.
And here's the that's the tailless lion. There's another one coming in front of us here. Totally silent on the hunt. Yawning, of course, always tired. Now we've turned. Very quiet and moving now onto the road towards quarantine clearings. Dun, da, da, da. There's another one. Sorry, Andrew. I'm just going to move the car. Get out of the way of other Andrew, who needs to see the lions as well, of course. Listening, smelling all the time, and looking. Now what they're seeing is pretty much an infrared picture, if you like. It'll be black and white, but much more contrasted than the view you're getting. Oh dear, one of the males has got tired. He's going to have a lie down. Oh dear, the exertions of walking, 150 meters has made them very tired. You can go a little bit closer. One of them is utterly exhausted. Wonderful. So they're now heading straight towards quarantine clearings, where there was zebra, wildebeest, impala. Wouldn't like to be one of them right now. And in the manner of all sort of pre-teen / teenagers, the young males would rather be lying down, doing not a great deal. There we go. Just a bit, yeah. Thanks, Andrew. See where they head now, whether they cross this road and go straight up. Yeah, they've gone straight into the bush there. Trying to decide what to do. Well, we can try and go there actually. Let's try and head into that block. Not going to be very easy. Okay, the Land Rover has the same turning circle as a, well, pretty much the same as an oil tanker. So we'll follow straight in after them. Well, hope we don't get stuck. Right. This is where they went. See them anywhere, Andrew? Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh, there they are. Cool, we've got them, Andrew. Watch out. While we're driving through here, just a quick recap. This is the Tsalala pine, 3 young males, 3 females, and one of them does have a wound on his bottom. And Claudia in Brazil, welcome, lovely to have you with us, all the way from South America. And you want to know how he got it? I think the best suspect is probably a hyena that bit him at a kill. There's the... Now they're splitting, they're kind of fanning. They're fanning into a kind of this sort of typical lion hunting formation. One of them going around the side, and maybe she'll chase something towards the others. Well, there's one right here, not more than 4 feet from the vehicle now. Look how close that is. Now these young males have just got to the stage where they're not a hindrance on the hunt anymore. They'll actually be quite useful. Smelling, listening. One of them's gone off, the most experienced huntress has gone off to the side, and she might try and chase something towards them. They're listening all the time. Now if we do spot a prey species of some kind, we'll turn the lights off, I'm afraid, and then we'll sit and we'll just listen. Yeah. So they're just listening carefully. You can see the ears pricked forward to where the tailless lioness has gone. She's still about maybe 10 feet from us. You You can't hear them move even sitting here. Almost entirely silent as they move through the bush. Exciting stuff. Walking through, you've seen how close some of the lions get here, and Laura, you want to know what it feels like to have a lion stare you straight in the eyes. Laura, it's happened to me a few times. Once or twice I felt a little nervous. Most of the time it just looks like there's not a great deal behind those eyes, I have to say. Sorry about the tree, it will pop up behind us, I promise you. It's an Acacia exuvialis, very hardy tree, encroacher species. I'm not too worried about them. Do try and avoid any of the more kind of rare species. Marulas and the tambutis. There they are. There's a big hole. Further along. We're going to stay behind. I don't want to get too close towards the front of the hunting pack. There's a tree over there. I'm sorry.
One next door.
Oh, hello. That's so wonderful. I think she's pregnant. See that?
Another one next to us.
Another one next to us. And another one coming next to us. Oh, sorry, Andrew. You're making a mess of these lights here. Now, these young males will eventually grow up to be, hopefully for them, strapping young fellows, and they'll take a territory of their own. And of course, lion territory takeovers are, well, they're things of great evil. That's the one with the injury on his backside. And a little while back, there was a coalition called the Mapocho males. There were also 5, originally 6 males that came in, much like the Birminghams, and caused enormous upheaval. They killed a lot of lionesses. In fact, I think they killed more than 10. And Yasmin in Las Vegas, you've clearly been paying attention for many years. You want to know who are their descendants. It's difficult to tell at this stage because they've been out of the loop for a long time. I mean, they've eventually ousted by a group called the Majingalane males, but there will be a number of lionesses. I think this tailless lioness might actually be an offspring of the Mapocho. So you might find some of the adults in this tribe are offspring of the Mapocho. There will be lots of them around. So it's always a little bit, we've got to be very careful when we follow lions hunting, of course. We do make a bit of a noise, there's no question. The vehicle does smell, and hiker in Wisconsin, you want to know if perhaps the human smell masks the smell of prey. No, not the human smell. It won't mask the smell of prey. The smell of the Land Rover might. It's possible. I mean, obviously, they can't smell human from where they are because all they've got is the smell of petrol and brake fluid and oil and various other things. But they hunt mainly by sight. And that's why we don't worry too much about it, hiker. We don't worry that we're creating a major issue for them because they hunt largely by sight and not so much by smell. But we do have to be sensitive, and there's no question that I have seen the odd hunt certainly go awry through some insensitive driving. It mainly just comes with experience that you know what does that. lions on the hunt, possibly at night. It's one of the most exciting things you can look at. Gecko, is that your name? Gecko, this is a very odd name. But, yes, you say this is epic. I agree with you completely. Paul Rizzo, you say we're taking you where not even the paying customers get to go. Yeah, we try and do that too. Because these little Land Rovers are so nimble, they're able to go just about anywhere. That little squirting noise you heard was Andrew cleaning the lens, everyone. It wasn't some kind of animal death or snake about to bite us, was it, Andrew?
No, just a few bugs on the lens.
A few bugs on the lens. Young male there, hanging out at the back. Comments and queries today about lions looking one in the eye, and what's the first impression that I had from a lion, and how did they make me feel, and what does it feel like to stare into the eyes of a lion. And Jill, you think that when lions are not feeling threatened, they don't look so threatening. I think that's probably true, you know. You say when they're feeling threatened, however, it's a very different kettle of fish. Just watch your head there. So you said that you reckon it's quite gentle. I'm not sure that I would describe a lion's look ever as being particularly gentle, to be honest, except when they're very little. Certainly they can look a lot more menacing when they're threatened or when they're angry, irritated, or when their blood is up. Perhaps they've been fighting or they've been on the hunt. Yeah, they've stopped again. Another one's gone forward. They're moving in a sort of leapfrogging pincer movement, if you like. Okay, let's go a little bit forward. This one's gone through here, perhaps to chase something towards the others, which are now waiting behind us. They're doing a bit of a loop around. I'm of course now getting horribly disorientated as we drive in the night. I can't see the sky very well because I'm staring at the lions. Oh, every time I turn off. So there they are. Don't want to get too close, like I said. You try and be as sensitive as possible. And there they go off into the darkness. They've turned almost 180 degrees again. Just reaffirming their social bonds with a quick greeting rub. Sorry, Andrew, go again with that. They've turned around, Andrew. They're heading back towards where I last saw you. So, Gerda, we were just chatting earlier about the mapocho, wonderful attention paying and care paid to these lions all the way from Las Vegas. And Gerda, you're I think in the Netherlands if I'm not mistaken. And you say you saw the kinky tail, who was one of the Mapocho males, mating with a lioness way back in 2007, and you say, could this tailless lioness be one of those offspring? Sorry, hold on a second. It could well be. Gerda, go ahead. Now I've got them here, Andrew. They're now heading back towards WildEarthTV access. So Gerda, I think it's quite possible that that tailless lioness could be one of their offspring. It's well possible. There they all are. So we're going to have to leave you fairly soon, I'm afraid. Find out where we are. I'm actually slightly confused as to where we are. Andrew, any ideas? I think this is Zoe's road, isn't it? Whoops, wrong radio. Andrew, they're now on Zoe's. They are on Zoe's now, heading back towards WildEarthTV. Oh no, they're not. I'm talking nonsense. Yeah, they're now turned onto quarantine. Gone off Zoe's. So wonderful. Now there is quarantine clearings in front of us there. There are a whole lot of animals there waiting. And I don't think that this is the best place for them to be honest. I think they're going to have a tough time hunting in such an open clearing.
We don't need a light change.
Thank you, Andrew. Now, Andrew, best access is to come on a 2-track to the south of quarantine. Otherwise, you'll get me visual from WildEarthTV access. Alright, everybody. We'll stay with these lions for a little bit longer and see what they do. I don't think that they're going to have a successful hunt this evening. But I might be wrong. Well, certainly not now. But we'll wait with them a bit longer. Anyway, thank you everybody. We're going to have to leave you now, I'm afraid. Wonderful contribution. Thank you for your time, mainly, and for your questions and comments. Thank you very much, Andrew, Brent and Steph and Brian on the other vehicle, and of course Tara and Louise in the final control. Mostly thank you for your time. We'll see you tomorrow morning on the dawn safari, 5:30, hopefully bright, definitely very early, and wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us. Stay safe, stay happy, and we will see you tomorrow morning. Bye bye.